The year is 1985, and a young Matthew Broderick stars as a computer hacker playing a game against what he thinks is just a innocent supercomputer that he finds with his home modem. I was only 1 year old when this movie came out, but much later in life, as I got more interested in computers, I found it to be very influential in my life, particularly the beginning of the movie where Matthew Broderick is war dialing. Matthew Broderick has taken his computer, connected it to a modem, which is the phone line basically, and is using his computer to make phone calls to different phone numbers, and it hangs up if somebody answers. But if it doesn't, if it's a computer tone that he gets back, a modem connection, that number is logged for later investigation. This is all old school hacker type stuff. Well, we're alive and well with that kind of interest in technology in Wardriving. Wardriving is a simple to understand idea of taking a laptop, a cell phone, or some kind of device and driving it around and logging Wi-Fi signals that it picks up. And what do we mean Wi-Fi signals? Well, we mean like where you go to somebody's house or your own house and you click on Wi-Fi in your area and you see the list. Well, what if your computer was running an application that recorded all of those Wi-Fi access points that were broadcasting their SSID, and you just drove around doing that? Really quickly, you'd get a really long list of these SSIDs. And along with those SSIDs, the exchange of information includes things like the encryption level of the Wi-Fi network. Spoiler alert, there are some people that are running Wi-Fi networks with no encryption or something very old called WEP encryption to this date. And that's kind of what Wardriving is all about. So this is a non-ham radio video, but it is a really cool piece of kit that I bet a lot of you have no experience with. By the way, my name is Josh. This is the Ham Radio Crash Course. Thank you for watching. So Wardriving is basically taking a simple device, a tablet, a phone, whatever, as I've already mentioned, and you upload that information, if you are so inclined, to a website called wiggle.net, W-I-G-L-E.net. By the way, links will be in the description for all of this. There's an app that goes with tablets on Android, iPhone, computers, you name it. But people have taken that to the next level, and they've built devices that all they do is look for this SSID Wi-Fi signals and then log it to internal storage. They've gotten so fancy with it that they'll run multiple devices that can do this simultaneously and scan up and down the Wi-Fi bands quickly so that they don't miss out as you're driving down the road. Now, right up front, this is not legal advice, but if you go to Wikipedia, Wardriving is not illegal, right? Because that information is just being broadcast into the open. So there's nothing wrong with you taking that information, potentially connecting it with a geotag like your GPS data, and then using it to create a map of Wi-Fi data. And that's exactly what Wiggle does. Wiggle is a website. It's free to access, although if you make an account, you can go into the map a little bit deeper. And it shows you different Wi-Fi signals on a map showing their different levels of security. Now, that's where the legalities kind of start to drift into dangerous territories. Just capturing this information is completely fine. But if you then use that information to break into a poorly protected network, now you're diving into an area where you could find yourself in a bit of trouble. Today, I'm going to build a kit that is designed to be one of these fast scanning multiple device kits called a Wardriver. And it has been a lot of fun to use. I have actually been using it for now about a month. Thank you to the person that sent this to me. It is really neat. Now, this video is a little bit long, so I've kind of encapsulated what Wardriving is right up front. Again, links are in the description if you'd like to go check out Wiggle, and if you'd like to access some of these apps that you can use on your smart devices and your computer. Let's go ahead and go over to the tabletop, and then I'll be back to kind of wrap up my thoughts. An anonymous benefactor said that I could be expecting something in the mail, and this is it. And I knew what it was, but I kind of didn't know enough about it, and I started looking into it, and I'm really excited to do this build today. I used to spend a lot of time in my youth learning about old technologies like the phone systems that we had, low voltage phone systems, pay phones like Captain Crunch, and all of those interesting stories. There is a number of parts here. That is a battery connector setup. This is a riser with, looks like a GPS or something along those lines. 16 gig memory card and assorted wires. It's an SD slot. This is an LCD antenna, another antenna, and a couple more items. There's lots of items. This is the case. That's the SD card reader or something. And that's the bottom. That's the PCB. And there are the 3 ESP32 devices that we need. So, okay, this guy can go on the side here. And let me tear into these boxes and come back when I've got a little bit more space to work with. Obviously, you've got more gear on the table here. I've got my Hako iron out here. This is my FX888 Delta. Highly recommended iron for doing projects like this. But I'm following the video from 463N7. I will link that in the video description. He takes a lot of time with it, and he's very detailed and very methodical, and I'm jumping through this to do this build. So I think I've got an understanding. There is a bit of a game that we're going to have to play with the Alpha and Bravo ESP32s. Like, you have to do a compile check on them. Didn't expect that, but we'll deal with that when we get there. First, let's do the easy stuff. Let's just solder all this stuff in the order that he does it. And yeah, there's a bit of an order to all of this. So I'm going to take it in the exact order he did it, because why mess with something that works? So let's check fitment. Yeah, we got to take this guy. Let's zoom in here a little bit. Very good. And if anybody's seen my soldering videos before, basically I use a lot of needle nose pliers for manhandling and haranguing parts to get bends in them. Now, that is definitely the size or the shape of a transistor, but instead of going in these 3 holes like that's right in front of the D, it's actually going to be to the left of that. So I'm going to get this guy down here. And while we're at it, I'm also going to put the resistor in. This is a 4.7K resistor. So for these guys with that gap, I'm eyeballing it again. I'm just going to take my needle nose pliers and just fold it over. Fold it over. Good enough. We'll sort it out when we get it there. I made the gap too wide. Mind the gap, kids. Okay. Blast it with solder. He used a lot of flux, which I have no issue with that. I don't use as much flux as I'm using solder that has flux in it. So for those that are wondering, when I solder projects, I'm running it at 650 degrees. I find that is where you want to be for the best solder. So as always, hang on to your little jumpers for now, because even though this project is more down the computery side of things, you never know when you're going to have to jump a lead or something along those lines as the instructions call out, and we're not that further along. So make sure that you're hanging on to some of this stuff. So there you go. All right, first 2 solders are done. FYI, this is the 2-cell kit that I'm building, so keep that in mind. There's the video, it looks like he has the 1-cell, or on his website, there's pictures of the 1-cell. This is the 2-cell, so FYI. All right, the next bit is the GPS. So to do the GPS, it's pretty easy. We got to get the pin headers in place first. These little things are called pin headers. And I will double check. I believe that top side is up. No, we're going to get rid of it. This is a multi-painted PCB. And if you don't see where your part goes on the top, then flip it over, and that's where the GPS lives, right here. So we're going to do the GPS. The GPS unit is going to go flush up against the board in this. So take your pin headers like that. In fact, I changed my mind. I'm going to do it this way. Nope, I changed it again. We're going to go straight into this guy like so. All right, and do the rest of them. Then this guy goes like that in the board, flush against it. If you're worried about it being flush because you're soldering, the best way to handle that is to get it kind of one pin in and then kind of touch it with heat, and then touch the other pins, the other side of the board, and press up against it, and that'll get it straightened out. But you can sometimes just get it lined up right and it'll get itself sorted out. But I usually still go back over it. So check this out. We hit the first pin. Okay, that's in place. We check the fit, and it's a little too far outside. It's a little bowed out. So then I just hold it like this and touch it and let go. It'll harden up, and then now you can do the rest of the pins. Pretty easy. Okay, checking the solder. Solder's good. I like to solder on tile. This is just a subway tile that I've got from my last bathroom renovation. I like to use tiles. They work great for soldering. Okay, SD card reader time. Back on the front side, 3 volts and ground, 3 volts and ground, like that. Perfect. Okay, so take our pin header for that. It's a pretty tight fit. This should solder easily. Looks good. All right, so this one they recommend a little up sweep, if you will, on the pins. So I'm gonna solder one into place, and I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna reheat it, and then I'm gonna give it a little bit of zhuzh. Bit of an up sweep, as you can see right there. So now I can do the rest of them. All right, so this is the cell phone signal reader. That's the connection for the antenna if you wanted to use a wire antenna, but it comes with one. So the way we're going to use that is we're just going to lay it over the top diagonally, and this pin is next to the connector, and they're actually bridged. You can see it just under the PCB coating. So we're going to make that connection right now. Good. So make sure you remove one of the pin header legs from that pin header. I just snipped it off with diagonal cutters. We're going to plug it in like that. Get it some solder, and then we'll test for straightness in a second. Not straight, right? So just take your finger on the pins that aren't the hot pin that you're about to resolder, and then just apply heat to the one you soldered, and just hold it for a second. It'll seize up, and then you can solder the rest of them. Now look at the top. It's labeled SIM. SIM goes into place there like so, and we're going to now solder that. Again, we're going to do final fitment after the first pin, so we'll go check it, pin it into place, just a little spot weld, if you will. Okay, it looks like it's going to be a little off kilter there. So we're going to heat this up from underneath. Okay. Here's something to think about. So here's our SD card, right? And what did they say? Put it at a tilt? We didn't tilt it enough, right? So now it's going to be hard for me to get that in there because this little block's in the way. Okay, so we got to fix that. But we soldered all these pins, right? Well, what do we do? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put my finger under here like this, and here's the side that we can adjust. I'm going to take my iron, and I'm going to not scrape's the wrong word, But I'm going to start applying heat evenly back and forth until I can move it in one motion. And then I'm going to move it up. Ready? Okay, got it up a little bit more. Let it cool down. Yeah, it's still hot. It heats up those leads too, right? When you're soldering, the leads are getting hot on the PCB, see? I mean, you can't really tell because it's not delaminating or anything, but you can feel it. So if you do this, you know, that's fine. Just move it a little bit and then stop and redo it. And your leads might get a little crusty looking, so you can go back and clean them up with denatured alcohol or isopropyl alcohol, not denatured, isopropyl alcohol, and that'll clean up the flux that comes out of the solder. There. Now we got a pretty big takeoff. We're still flush, so the pin header's still flush against the board, but now we've got a nice angle here that we can attach the SD card when we get to that point. And it's a little warm, but it'll be fine. All right, following on at home here, here's our diode. The black ribbon on the right side needs to line up with the arrow. So we're going to go into that hole. Black. Always check this because it's polarized, meaning if this is flipped, voltage will not go over through in the direction that it needs to. So make sure that it is good and double check your work. Black ribbon to the right hand side and then solder in place. All right, our board's getting a little busy on the top here, and we got that spring and this transistor and whatnot. So we want to take every opportunity we can to not damage anything here. So we don't want to push down hard on the PCB while we're soldering. So just keep that in mind while you're doing this, because that will potentially damage some things, which would be very bad. So we're going to go in lightly. Boop. Diode time. Diode time. Good. Now we got the screen, which could be the most troublesome for some of you, but it's not that difficult. I will note that 463N7 has thicker gauge wire than I do. I have this 30 gauge hookup wire. I'm just going to take a bunch of cuts of different colors here, and about that much is good. Hookup wire's cheap. I'll drop a link to Amazon. This stuff's invaluable though, so you should probably have a little kit like this, 6-color hookup wire. Now I'm not going to pretend I'm better than you, but I just strip by hand. I just take a little bit, take my diagonals and just lightly feel the resistance and then just pull through, and it strips it. So just do that. Don't make it weird. Don't get all tool crazy. Most of this hookup wire is like really fragile stuff, so if you pull too hard or you squeeze too hard, you'll take off more than the shield. So you're really just like lightly nicking it and then just pulling, and it just flicks it right off the end. You get a feel for it after you do it enough times. Hookup wire is a little bit more difficult though, so keep that in mind. Red is going to go from VCC to 3. Ground is obviously green to ground, GND. And SLC is going to go to SCK on the screen, and then SDA goes to SDA. It's a straight shot. So let's do VCC first, since we... Get that out of the way, and we'll do ground next. I'm just going through the back of the hole here, and I'm folding the wire over, and I'm laying it down on the table, applying heat, and then just touch some solder to it. It'll suck it into place. You're done. It's pretty straightforward. All right, so 3 volts goes here. Kind of using my finger to hold it in place while I solder. Okay, next is ground. The wires get frayed, so go back over them and give them a little twist. Oops, see? I always like to drink a lot of coffee before I do any really fine work like this. It really seems to help the nerves and the shakiness and all that. In this case, yeah, these small wires give me fits. Ay, ay, ay. I keep just barely touching it to the hole. There we go. Nope. And so then SCK goes to SCL. The nice thing about small hookup wire like this is that you can pretty much hide it anywhere in a case. It just disappears. It's not a big deal. I hope that it's enough for the voltage. It's only a 3-volt screen, so I'm hoping that we're good. But who knows? We'll see. If I have to change it, I'll have to change it. And of course, I was not zoomed in for all of that, so you saw very little tight-in shot of the most fiddly bits of this. So here you go. We're going to redo this one. Last one here. I'm going to take the wire, through the hole, fold it over with your finger. Now hold it, hold it, hold it. Take your iron, remove your finger, grab your solder. Yeah, like that. Easy. Since I'm here, I should also snip off these leads, so we're going to do that right now. Okay. While you were seconds away, I went off and flashed both the A and the B ESP32s. I will post links in the GitHub, and I will go ahead and say that that is something that if you are used to soldering, this is going to be new for you. You have to use the Arduino IDE. You have to set up the board type for flashing it. The GitHub is actually very explanative in how to do it. And the video from 4, 6, 3, and 7 is also very good at this. Well, I love kit building, and that's why I'm doing the video. I'm not in love with doing a lot of IDE compiling and uploading. With that said, it is done. We've achieved our goal. So, looking at the PCB again, we now need to solder these in place because they're ready. So this is 5, and that is, let's see. I believe that is the correct orientation, but I will double check. You line these guys up carefully because they can kind of get bummed around during shipping, and you don't want to force it because they should just kind of go in like something. I don't know. It's not. All right, come on now, buddy. All right, get those sandwiched in like so. And we want our screen out of the way here, so we're just gonna move these wires, push them down a little bit, and let's line up those first 2 holes, and then just kind of rock it in. But you got to do them evenly, or they don't want to go together. So there you go. In place. All right, so let's get our screen out of the way because these things are fragile, and we got a lot of soldering to do. So get a lot of solder, because here we go. Ah, had to get another piece of solder. Bummer. I was in the zone. I was in the zen state of soldering at that exact moment. Pulled me right out of it. Beauty. Done. Okay, so let's... No, it's fine. Not too warm. Okay, so now we got to do the fitment of the antennae. Guys, when you're playing around with kits, radios, whatever, always, always, always attach your antennas. You need to attach your antennas because if you power this up without an antenna, you could fry the transmitter, right? So GPS, it's true, is a receiver. So I'm not really worried about this one, but still, make sure you do it. Don't put strain on those wires. I'm not sure the orientation of the antennas yet, so I'm just going to leave those on the side. We have 2 SMA connectors here for the Wi-Fi. So we'll take those guys. You want to load, right? You want to load attach because this is going to be functioning Wi-Fi here, so make sure you attach the load. We'll do final fitment with the nuts here after, but for right now, let's just get the antennas connected and do the first time power on. Okay, everything in place. All right, power bank. Here we go. Lights up, and SD begin failed. No SD card. Okay. So let's remove power. SD card goes in upside down. And boom. Version. Oh, it sees an SD card. No SD card, it's complaining. Okay. Don't know why that worked differently, but I just pulled out the SD card and reseated it. So now it's advertising 192.168.4.1. So it is now creating a Wi-Fi network for my phone to connect to. So I'm going to have to do that right now. So I'm on the Wi-Fi for the Wardriver. You'll see it on your phone as wardriver.uk. Password is wardriver.uk. Now, you bring up your browser and you go to whatever that IP is. So 192.168.4.1. And it should now, I should note that you will sometimes have to click on the Wi-Fi twice and wait for it to like catch up. It will give it a second, stay on the screen, at least for iPhone. Otherwise, this won't work correctly because I wasn't on the Wi-Fi. Okay, now I'm officially on the Wi-Fi. Now I can go back. Now I should be able to do that. And there we go. So JHewitt is the creator of this, wardriver.uk. I will post the link so you can check that out. But let me do the quick setup here for my home Wi-Fi. No, you can't have that, and I'll be right back. So now it is connected to my Wi-Fi. At least it's saying setup is complete, which is what we wanted. And it's going to do some kind of a timeout here. You can see it. Timey timeout on that screen. Maybe you can't. It's an incredibly small screen. So I'm going to gently remove my plastic. There you go. Completed. 34 seconds until boot. So we're going to let him do his thing. All right, so we have a working unit, and I could just button it up in the case, but this is the Fat Boy case, which accepts the 2 cells in the back here. We got to slide this in. So we got a couple of fitment things to do, and the video doesn't cover actually how to plumb this. So we got a 5 volt and a 3 volt. I'm guessing that if this is running off of USB, that it's a 5 volt system. So let's unplug this, and we're going to search the board here for somewhere to solder onto. Oh, 5. So we want the 5. Okay, great. All right. So that just made everything a lot easier. So thank you again for doing a good job with this kit. So what we got to do here is we're going to get some, I'm going to get some fatter wires here, and we're going to tap into one of these 5 volt spots. And the way this goes into the case, it goes in like this, and you kind of shove it into place and slam it down. So that means I want to solder it through the holes on top so that the wires come out. And if this goes in like, I'm guessing like a so, then the holes for the 5 volts are right there. Okay, so that's easy. So we just need to go from here to here, and that's it. That should be it. So let's get some wire. I've got some 26 gauge wire, so only slightly longer, just a small little piece, because we're just going straight into the hole here, and they're right next to each other, so not a big deal. That looks like solid core. Actually, this is both solid core, so that's fine, whatever. Oh, spicy shielding. There we go. Jesus, this is really aggressive stuff here. Wow. Yeah, all that time me saying, oh yeah, just do it yourself, and then look at this. This stuff is bad. I mean, this is like old wire. All right, good enough. So this is going to be in like that. So I'm literally just going to solder them across. So, wait, where's the 5 volt? Right there. Negative. And positive. Okay, so make sure you don't cross polarize here. So the 5 is here, so they're going to be twisted. And then this goes over the top. Jeez. All right, buddy, come on. Okay, let's just take a minute here. So positive, negative, right? Positive, negative there, and then that's 5 and G there. So okay, that should be it. Let's button this bad boy up. What do you say? This is where it gets a little fiddly. So I need to get this. Well, let's disconnect these antennas for right now. Okay, I'm going to first install this guy. So it's going to go in like this at an angle, right? And I'm really going to pushing it this way, right? So that this can just kind of, maybe? I'm not trying to force anything here, right? So take your time with it. but that definitely looks like how it goes. Oh, there's some clips, and there's a bit of sprue 3D print schmoo here. No, that's just not going to work. So let me show you what the problem is. So there's these three, see those little slot, or the little stops? Those are preventing this from going into place. It's a very tight fit. Okay, let's try one more time, and then we're going to have to make some fitment changes. So this goes in like so, kind of give it a good push. There are stops here as well that it's going up against, so we're going to go all the way in. Yep, and it slides in, so that's like where you want it to be. That's perfect. This though is not lined up, right? Yeah, no, I'm forcing it way too much. All right, so I'm going to, well, not exactly the best way of doing this, but love the smell of ABS in the morning. And close. Yeah, see, we're still hung up a little bit. So I'll pop that back out. That's it. Boom. I don't like that the batteries are exposed, but whatever. Okay, so now I think everything gets built on top of this, so I'm going to bring the GPS antenna around. For the wires, I'm just going to put a bend like that. There's a little runway for the GPS antenna, which goes there. What are you bouncing on? Oh. You think it's all these pins, fellas? Maybe? Let's just knock them all down. What do you say? Okay, get you out of the way. That was it. Let's turn that around. Lay him in place. Yep, that was it for sure. Okay. Let's move the screen over here. Oh. So I was curious about that. So the antennas have to be in place up here before you slide the board in. So, okay, never mind. We're gonna pull this back out again. It's kind of a tight fit. So let's do this guy, A. Get him back on. Okay, there's A. I'm going to take those guys off. Now, these slots are keyed. So there's a hexagon. Oh, wow. Yep, there we go. Boom. And so they're not going to move. There's no need to use these brackets or these nuts and washers with this, so I'm going to skip it. And then this guy comes in here. That's pretty much perfect. Okay, now, now we can go in. Now, a note on fitment, look at the big gap on that antenna. I don't like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add the washer. I'm going to go ahead and add the little bitey washer on top there first, then the lock washer, then the screw, sorry, the nut. I think that's going to look a little bit better. It's also going to pull the connectors out so they're even. That's too much though, isn't it? Yeah, that's too much. Let's just use the split washer. And I need a proper pair of pliers. All right, let's get this into place. Obviously, don't split the housing. Nice, let's check our antenna. That's better. Yeah, let's stick with that. Split, nut. So we introduced a new problem because the PCBs have enough separation to them. This bottom end pushes out when you get it when you try and add the batteries. So I'm going to add some super glue. I don't think this is a final solution here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sprue, 2 sprues, and I'm going to put that on the edge, right there, and right there, and we are going to melt them into place. Almost just as good. All right. Now for making sure I haven't screwed anything up, let's slide him back into place. Okay. Yep. Okay, it's fitted. GPS antenna, good-ish, I guess. This antenna, I think we're just going to route it along the path here. And this guy also, we're going to have to route him around. All right, so I don't have enough batteries, it turns out, so I'm going to see if we can just plug in and get some kind of activity here. Oh, okay, it runs off of one cell. Okay, cool. So we got at least one cell. Those are on the same polarity. Oh, but that switch isn't doing anything, is it? Why is there so much manhandling here? I don't understand. I'm going to break the screen. These little teeth are going to break it. These teeth on the back. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Another one of these jobs. Okay. Damn it. I can't shut this off without taking the battery out. All right, fine. All right, well, we killed the screen, so that's great. That's really, okay, well, that's frustrating. So this thing here, there's these teeth, and once you get it past the teeth and you put it into place, it snapped the screen. Now the screen's cracked right here. Okay, the kit's all done. Let's take it on a quick spin, and I'll show you what you do with it once you've collected some delicious Wi-Fi access point informations. All right, plug in the Wardriver in, and there's that button on the side. Lights turn on, and I just put it on my dashboard and commence driving. We're gonna swing by the Cerritos police station and City Hall, see if we can catch any fresh Wi-Fi's here, so let's go check it out. So you drive around for a couple of miles, or maybe it's your commute to work. Now what do? Well, it's dead simple. When you set that thing up for the first time, it's gonna ask for your Wi-Fi, and it will use that for the first couple of seconds when it's powered on. What it's doing is it's creating a web space. So you take it home after doing your little ward drive, plug it into USB-C, push the power button, unit turns on, and then it'll be accessible via its IP address, which is on your network, and it will display that on the little LCD. You go to that URL, you will be presented with a website that shows all the files that are on it. You simply click the files, they download, and then you upload it to something like Wiggle. Again, links are in the description. Wiggle will then take it, upload it, process it. You'd now be providing your ward drive to the community for mapping purposes. So, now, a couple of things I'll mention with the JHewitt Wardriver. If you're just using this in a car and you got a USB connection in the car, you don't need the 1-cell or 2-cell add-on. Just go with the slim model. None of this other stuff you have to slap onto the side of it. In fact, I'm thinking about actually removing the 2 cells and then creating a new 3D print, because again, mine got a little melted sitting up on the dashboard there. So you could just skip that if you wanted to. Also, at the time of recording, there was no firmware upgrade for the cell phone module that we installed in the kit, but I look forward to that. I think that's actually really fascinating, is to be able to map where the different cell phone towers are in your area and know what frequencies they support. I think that's really cool. That goes well beyond Wi-Fi for me. That's way more into what I think is really awesome. So look forward to that. If you get one of these, you know, the skies, you know, you still got more you can do. It also seems like once you buy one of these, the people that are like really into this buy more and more and more, and they get like banks of ESP32s that are just all scanning around constantly. You can go online and trust me, there's a lot of YouTube videos on this. Other than that, it's a pretty cool piece of kit. It works exactly as it says it does, and it wasn't too hard to build. If this interests you and you are interested in finding out more, I highly recommend you just grab one of like your Android tablets. That's kind of where I started with this, and go download the Wiggle app. If you are so inclined, the link for the Wardriver kit that was sent to me is in the description. Just keep in mind that these JHewitt Wardriver is like a design using the 2 ESP32 chips. There are a number of providers for this type of product. You can also go to JHewitt's website, as also wardriver.uk, for some more information about different designs and obviously where to get the software. GitHub is going to be really important for doing the compile and flashing of those ESP32s. And if I didn't say it earlier, the reason why I didn't include that in the video, the flashing, is that the process, if you will, for doing the flashing could change in the future. And I know these videos usually, they live for a little while and they get occasional bumps in traffic. I don't want to show you my process and then link you to the GitHub where the actual software is that you need, and then they tell you a differing process. Those folks are going to be the most accurate with the process you need to update these chips. So just follow whatever it is they tell you to do, regardless of when you're watching this. With all of that said, this isn't a 3D printed case, and unfortunately mine got warped sitting on the dashboard of my truck. Who could have saw that coming? Definitely not me, because I ended up warping it. So don't do that to yours, although you do want it to have it in a location like a windshield, because it's going to get better access to Wi-Fi as you're driving around. All kinds of different tips there as well. This is something that, like, it feels like a hobby-ish thing where the act of making the Wardriver is the hobby, and then using it is something that probably the interest tapers off. I know that's the way I feel. Like, I like kit building, but now that I've built it, it's not like a radio where I'm actively making contacts. It just kind of does its thing, and then I plug into it and copy off the files, and that's all there is to it, which is fine. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you know, all right, whatever. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I want to hear your thoughts, though. This is kind of a interesting topic, maybe for some of you. Maybe you didn't know about this. If this is the first time you've heard about Wardriving, drop me a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I know that there's going to be some people that come and go, this is definitely illegal, that's not okay, blah, blah, blah. To me, the analogy, and I'll leave you at this, it's like if your door lock just had a speaker connected to it, and it was saying, I'm a 5-pin Schlage with a spool pin. I'm a 4-pin quickset with no security pins whatsoever, and you're just hearing that as you walk down the road. Well, if you don't use that to break into the house, then you just hearing it is not a crime. It's kind of like where those people get in trouble for recording video in public. Well, your eyes are recording information to your brain in the forms of memories, and so you can't really tell your eyes to stop receiving that information, nor can you tell your ears, nor can you tell your computer, which is just a radio when you get down to it, and it's picking up freely transmitted signals in the form of these Wi-Fi packets with the SSID and the security information. So seems like a no-brainer. Why not record that, do whatever you want with it, because we are publicly transmitting that. Hey, if you want to get around any security issues, make sure you turn on WPA security on your Wi-Fi. And if you're worried about somebody Wardriving your network, it's probably too late for that. You're probably already uploaded to Wiggle. But if you want to, turn broadcasting off on your router, and then you'll have to type in the SSID for your network, but you won't be broadcasting those packets, and then there's no one that can pick up the packets when they're Wardriving, right? Right. I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. 73.